Hello, hello, and welcome to the Beth of Fresh Air. It's 2 o'clock Central Time, June 12th, 2026. I do that to orient myself. Who am I? Where am I? Oh my God, you guys, probably going to be a bit of swearing in today's stream. And come and say hello if you're in the chat. I'm going to be sharing some stuff. No doubt you are aware already if you're here, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're just clicking on a notification, or maybe you're not getting a notification. Because that happens a lot around here. But it's always more fun if you guys come and say hello and let me know you're around and how you're doing. I'll say now if I forget, which I probably will not totally forget, but I have a guest coming on for a King Hero's Journey podcast on Monday. That's June 15 at 1 p.m. And his artist name is Banjo Glass. So I met him because he was a fan of Roy Wooten, and he came on my I don't know, my posts didn't really get out or weren't really interesting to people or something, but he was interested. He's like, oh my God, you had Roy Wooten on. He really got it. And so then we were chatting a little bit in the back end. He told me that his children call him a king hero because he's tuned in with my podcast and they picked up the idea about a king hero, and then his kids call him that. And I'm like, oh, how cute. Maybe I need to interview you if you're a king hero. So we got chatting and I got to know about his work, and he's considered a functional artist. He creates blown glass, and they are absolutely masterpieces. Some of these pieces sell for like $30,000, and it's born of a movement. Like we're kind of going into the past. Is there some like serious retrograde, or what do they call it? Saturn returning kind of stuff going on? Because my past is rushing at me. So this is a slice of that before we get into today's topic. And hello, Miss Accidental Alchemist. I believe you are a miss. Nice to see you too. Miss Diana's in the room. That's great. Nice to see you. Keep watching your very epic hikes in Alberta in the snow. Like, who would want the snow right now? But good for you. You're getting fit and getting the fresh air. So yeah, Banjo Glass, it was born of the Grateful Dead scene. If you guys ever, I'm sure you know who the Grateful Dead are. I myself was part of, I don't know, I went to about 4 shows. I had friends that were really into it, like consider themselves actual Deadheads. And I was not that, but I was a friend and I wanted to, I don't know, be included and go to concerts and stuff like that. So we went to these very interesting concerts, and I quickly learned how this is not just a show. This is not just a thing. It's a culture. It's a whole conglomeration of people coming together around common purpose. Now, some people might argue about the common purpose being like just smoking joints and getting all blotto and dancing yourself into a trance, or, and that's, it's arguable, that's there. And so I'm curious to see, how did this culture evolve over time, and how did it remain an more organic culture rather than an engineered kind of a space? Hello, Quietly Content Bear. Welcome to the chat. Glad to have you guys here. So that's me trying to be upbeat. And so last week, I don't know if you caught my interview with Edith Ubuntu Chan, but I had, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, an old friend of mine from back in my India days sent me an advance copy of a book. And the book will be coming out. I don't know exactly when that is, but I think I can share it. It's interesting to start out that there's, things are still somewhere shrouded in secrecy. Even me coming out to do this interview today, I felt a little like, should I tell somebody? Should I ask somebody's permission? Should I this? Should I that? And first of all, the book is published and it's going to be public, so that it's not a secret. But it was for many, many, many years, and tragically so. I was going to, at some point today, I'll share a song with you that I wrote on the heels of removing myself from the cult in India under, this is probably the last time I'll ever say this guy's name. the way that he says it. He self-titled himself a Swami. He called himself Swami Sham. And the word Sham is very beautiful. It is a Sanskrit word for consciousness. It's also the same as, kind of interestingly, it's the same as the god Krishna. And you might know in India, they all name themselves after gods and goddesses. And does that make them megalomaniacs? Because of that, it seemed like nice for a while, and it seemed high, and it seemed so enlightened or something like that. So he named himself a Swami. You never name yourself a Swami. That's a title given to you. You know, God knows if there's any real like bona fide Swamis out there in the world. Are they all as corrupt as ours was? And this woman, it's funny, I'm having a block because see if I can even find the book to tell you. I know her name is Jen. I knew her as a different name, so it's actually really hard to get used to calling her Jennifer. We're not in contact, though I have reached out to her. And let me see. About 600 apps open. They're all listening to me talk right now. And let's see what happens. So Becoming a Rainbow Hummingbird is the name of the book. And that's all I know for right now. So if you're not familiar already with the story, then I'll start where I entered in, that I took a course with somebody local here in university, and it was my graduating year. So I was just literally kind of grabbing at different courses that I could take to fulfill on my degree. And I had been studying anthropology. That was my major. And I came across a Religions of India course. And I said to myself, like, I don't have a particular interest. I've never looked into that. I don't even think I'm ever going to go to India 8 times. But here's a course. It's at the right time and it won't be boring. So then I signed up for that course. And it was, it had little breadcrumbs in some kind of like, as if maybe divine order or something, And then I got wind of a second course that was a credit course in meditation, which was the only time the university ever offered it. It was experimental to run it the first time. And then the only reason I could take that for credit is because I'd taken the Religions of India course. They needed that to be prerequisite. So you had this, which it didn't, it had really nothing to do with that course at all. But so there I was in the second course and getting to know this teacher. And I was, for the first time in my life, studying meditation and really starting to explore. And Miss Elisa's here. Anthropology was the biggest subject that I could find. And because we're all so anthropocentric, thinking that everything revolves around humans, it's not true. Then there was almost nothing that you couldn't study with, relative to human beings. And so that's why I picked that. And it gave me, rather than pigeonholing myself into, psychology or sociology or all of that kind of like where you were just, but this one was big and expanded. And then so over the course of this credit that I got in meditation, I learned to meditate. At the beginning, it was very, very difficult to be still. 5 minutes was practically torturous for me. I had a lot of intensity in my system, nervous system. I was young, I was damaged, but I was trying to graduate from my degree. I had like pulled myself together after all the shenanigans that I write about in my book in my teens. I graduated with a 4.0 grade average and the gold medal in the class. The class was small, so I didn't have a huge amount of competition, but it was at a time when I was much more trying to fit in with society, trying to have ambition with society. I was like trying it all on. It was all fake and gay for me, but there I was doing it. And so there, the meditation was fine and the teacher was fine, although there's lots to say there as well, kind of parallel, not nearly as intense, but I find it's coming up for me like crazy right now, which is ultimately good. So it could be released. And then so as I was coming towards the end of those courses, I had also got involved with a cultural exchange program that was sending me overseas to Nepal. And Nepal seems really close to India. If you look at a map, it seems really close, but it's not. Because the topography is all like up and around and down, and watch out for the what do they call it, avalanches, because they don't build anything proper in those countries. And so I ended up eventually making my way from Nepal to India. It took a really long time to get where I was going. I got stuck in India because by that point I needed a break from all the work I'd been doing in Nepal. It wasn't a holiday, let's say, at all. That's a whole other story of its own. And but I did eventually make my way to the Kulu Valley, which is the scene of the crime, let's say, that took place over many years. By the time I got to it, it was already a mature cult. It was, not the beginning days. There was a lot of established people in that zone. Welcome, Maya. Nice to have you here. And so, it was right away, my impression of it. First of all, I wanted to be part of it. I wrote this guy, so like I used his name for the last time. Now I'm going to call him Sham. That's not my name. This is the author's name, Jennifer something. Please just message me if you want to find it. And her full name. I don't want to lose my page if I open. I'm not totally finished. So, so my first impression about it was that it was a kind of exclusive club. And I wrote and asked the Sham, Sham, whatever, even that is very weird as a name to call him. But I asked permission, could I come and visit? And I got permission to come to be in this, to visit and be, meet the guru and sit with the devotees. And literally on a mountain. The Kulu Valley it's considered foothills, but it's way up there. It's still, I think, 2,000 feet in the air. And it's just a really amazing place, just in terms of the geography. The name Kulu means Valley of the Gods. It was very rich. It's very fertile. It's not the classic, abject poverty a lot of India has. It's more abundant, and people more or less did better there. It was a more normal life. There was still poverty. There's still beggars. There's still open sewers running through the street, and a lot of things that we would consider not to be acceptable in that kind of arena. But nonetheless, it was a very beautiful place. And arriving there made me feel like I had come to heaven, and not so much just the Kulu Valley that was better than all of the, sort of like plains of India and stuff where I had been, but because I was here for the purpose of enlightenment. And that's what I had been led to believe, and that's what I believed. And I don't, I don't really fault anybody for leading me to believe that. That's what they believed. They weren't lying either. So there was this, walking through the front gate of this ashram, and there was like a going on in my head. I was manufacturing this whole experience that I was somewhere holy, and I was going to meet a holy man, and my life was going to change, and I was going to reach this state of consciousness, which in and of itself, I see it so different now around states. And I highly recommend people become aware, if you are a state chaser, if you're somebody that is looking for a particular state of mind, like, for example, flow state or an enlightened state or an awakened state. It can be just a semantic thing with the word, but it took me the better part of 25 years, I think it's going on 30 years, to recognize that the state chaser in me is not actually the one that wants freedom. That's a different thing. The state chaser is one of what Micah Ehlers would call a false personality. So this guy, Shem, had a great deal of those kind of personalities around him, and they were hungry. They were literally hungry. And when you are hungry, you are vulnerable. You are open to control, and that's exactly what happened there. I'm going to take a moment and play this. Nah, maybe I'll play it later or play it out later. But anyway, I got a song. It keeps reminding me of my own song. And so, yep, they were chasing states. And I got this version of this Sham guy who was kind of like Santa Claus. He was an older fellow by this point. He had a white beard and he had white hair, and he by day more so, and in the public of our little cult that was never more than about 150 or 250 people in the actual location. There were, I don't know, maybe about 1,000 around the world. Not a huge movement or anything like the Maharishi or anything like that, but it was a sort of microcosmic version of that. And so, I would sit in front of him with all the other people who would clamor to the front of the line, or to be as close to him as they could be. There was a really funny moment. I mean, there's lots of funny moments. I don't know if I'm going to stop quoting everything about this now. I'm going to have to really sort through, because I still had the idea that there was good things there for me in the end. And it's true that everything is a mix. Not everything is usually almost always not all one way. But Jen wrote about it in the book, and people would always be reacting to, after they found out what was really going on behind the scenes, they would, oh, don't throw the baby with the bathwater. And she's like, no, throw out the baby. Right. Throw out the fucking baby. This is not right. So it's been under the microscope for a lot of years since I learned about this. Before I knew anything specific about it, I already had cut ties, but there were things that I kept from it. And I'm even tempted right now to share that stuff, but I'm going to leave it at this point where it is. And so the clamoring and the trying to be close to him. So I picked it up, right? I was one of those that would just, if this guy was out giving his talks, I wanted to be right there. You had to be kind of psychic. There was no schedule. There was no timing. It could be, middle of the day. It could be middle of the night. It could be first thing in the morning. It could be later in the afternoon. And there was always this psychic tuning in. Is he out? Is he out? Everybody's asking, is he out? Right. So the whole entire community focuses on the comings and the goings of this one individual. I would always see there was always groups of girls that were around him, a little bit entourage-y, and I'm like, oh, I want to be one of these girls, right? I want to be special. I want to be, close to that guru, and so it's a sort of you call it a spiritual ambition, and that's interesting. Diana's chasing sanity as a state in this insane world. Yeah. It's that's interesting. It might not be a state. Sanity. Yeah. Keep your wits about you, but I won't argue anyway. So then, it was really ironic. Every interaction that I had with this guy was in some. I made it a helpful thing, but if you haven't noticed and you don't know me by now, I have a childlike ability to take something bad and wrong and turn it into at least something useful for freedom. And this is not wrong. This is the potential for everything. We live in, you guys can romanticize all you like about the earth if you love it here. And yes, of course, there is great beauty, but there is great, what does Joel say? Great beauty, great terror, or is that his word? Like awfulness. And this is not black pilled. This is reality. This is, according to Gurdjieff, where we're at right now, this is as far as we could get from God without being completely lost to that forever. This is as far as you could possibly get away, right? Could be said that there's not much of that here, but anyway. Yeah. So we're in a place where it's not great anyway. And there is a lot of, there's lies, there's deceit, there's BS, there's, getting cheated, getting tricked, getting people stealing from each other, the lying. This is this is the big one, right? The lying. I always, after I'd been through some lying injuries, and it might be kind of like a theme in my life where I've attracted some liars in order to really, dig this stuff out of me and bring it to a point of release. But I do feel like it's one of the all-time highest crimes, because for anybody that's interested in reality, again, if you know me by now, I'm a fan of reality, even though it's not like something that you love when you find it. This week was a great example of that. But once you lie and you remove the potential for someone else's reality, and you test their what's probably trust, lots to say about that at a different time, then it is the biggest harm, because they can't make decisions based on reality, right? That's it, given that they might want to make decisions based on reality, then the lies are completely taking that away. And and even bigger than the lies that are told to us are the lies that we tell to ourselves, and then inevitably end up lying to others. So this is the really interesting and really important part, is learning to see how you lie to yourself. And that is the only way that perpetrators can get away with their lies, because you might get tricked with one lie or two lies or three lies, but at some point you're going to get hip to it. But if you're lying to yourself, it could go on for 1 year, it could go on for 10 years, it could go on for 25 years or 30 years or longer. There are still to this day people who are housed in that ashram, even though the guy is dead. He passed away, I don't know, was it a decade ago or something? I don't have a exact date in my mind. I remember when it happened. It's a decade or even more, something like that. So he's gone, but they're still there. Right? They never ever got on with their life. They never stopped believing the lies that they were told, and they become perpetuators of their lies. Now it's their lives, and they can do what they want. And if they want to live in a place in India, it's cheap, and there are some advantages. There are also many disadvantages. But what it did for a lot of people is get them out of having to do something very important, which is get your life together. So, it's going to sound like I'm joined another cult here, and I've been studying the work of Gurdjieff. There's no group at this point. I don't even want to be part of the groups, because what I learn about the groups, they seem cult-like to me. So I don't really want to be part of them. I'm lucky to have a friend like Micah who I can work with, and he feels super clean to me. And, it's definitely not around a cult. But that was a big preempt. So Gurdjieff would recommend that people don't even start the work of, he'll call it self-remembering, until you've got your life together, until you've become what he called a householder, somebody who you grew up and you became responsible, and you got a livelihood. How do you call that? You became gainfully employed or self-employed, or you did some work and you found the value of I'll say the value of your purpose here. And maybe you had children and you raised some children, and you got your life together. This is on the King Hero's journey, the path of the 8 archetypes. I would say this is at least to the nurturer, where you're not just trying to get your life together, the warrior nurturer, the warrior crossing over to the nurturer in its awakened place, then starts to go, oh, there's other people out there. There's service to be done. There's work to be done. I have enough now that I have something to give back. Because earlier in the journey, that might not be the case. You might still just be looking out for yourself, and you have to. Because if you don't, then you're never going to be prepared for deeper work of not being so asleep and mechanical and lying to yourself with false personalities. So for him, that was actually a requirement. Whereas in this other community, people were encouraged to make money. Why? Because that's how the whole sham ran, right? Like it was all money. I was having the friend who connected me with that whole thing yesterday tell me, I wasn't really aware of it. Now, I had to pay tuition when I went. It was this monthly fee, and it was a fair amount of money for me at that time. It was like, oh, really? And this is for spiritual work, although I don't have that hang up. And he said for him, it was actually, there was a daily fee to go and sit in front of that guru, a daily fee. And he couldn't afford to go every day. He could only afford to go like once a week or something. He wasn't one of those gopis running after. Gopi means like a shepherdess who would hang around Krishna. They would call them gopis. That means cows, actually, which is not very flattering. And so, yeah, he wasn't one of those like I was trying to be. So forgive me. I don't know how that sentence exactly was supposed to end. What was my point, you guys? Feel free to throw a point in there about just, yeah. So he wanted people to make money because he was making money. He was investing in his, nest egg or whatever, and building onto his little piece of land that at first was where people lived, and it grew beyond that. So people just lived in the outer community. The piece of land that he had became the ashram, but not a classic lived-in place where people actually live communally. And in a way that was better for his purposes because he could separate people a little bit more. He could be much more incognito in certain ways. And, if it was just all contained, living together communally, it's much harder to get away with murder, let's say. So that was he needed money, and so he would encourage people to make money, to send money, to bring money. Money was always a thing. It was kind of interesting, that there was a lot of money being passed around, and people would feign some like this massive generosity and these big gifts, not just to him, but between each other. And there was I always felt there was this sort of like guilt of like, you should just want to give everything to this and to these people, because why? They brought you the knowledge. They saved your soul from the pits of normalcy or whatever kind of thing was going on there. So yeah, no lack of needing to amass funds like every cult does, right? It needs money to run, and it had its own administration. And the guy, the sham guy, was not the one to ask for the money. So he had his own. Now Jen calls them henchmen. Did I say that right? Henchmen. And henchmen, they would force the payment, like make sure that's going to happen. That you went to the bank and you got your rupees, and you came with your stack of rupees, which were this tall because the rupees worth almost nothing. And they would do his business for him. They also apparently did some other business for him, and I might say something about that. And hello, Miss Anne McLeod. Nice to have you here. And yep, we've been here for just half an hour, so you are not that late at all. And the recording will always be there. So, what I learned after, it was kind of interesting, the events that happened. So I did after my first trip, I spent, I think the first time I was there for 10 months, I got a place in the community. I had my little life. I was very immersed. Was that true? No, the first trip it was my second trip. I was there for 10 months. The first trip I was traveling around, and I just barely finally made it to Kulu. And then after that, I decided that I wanted to live in Kulu. I wanted to do everything possible to get myself back there. I came home. It's actually why I started working for my family's business, because I needed money. I couldn't go and live in India if I didn't have a source of income. And it just seemed like, yep, this is the thing to do. I did want to support my parents. I did, I didn't hate the work. it was a way for me to contribute to the family. But the main thing was so that I could be independent and go to live in India. I had this goal. And so I was back within a year, and I did leave. I lived there for the 10 months. And then every other time, because I was working full time, I would only go for 5 or 6 weeks. So I was never a permanent installation. And that was good. That was good. God was saving me. Like, there I was off to become a householder. Like, I knew it. I needed to get independent. I need to get skills. I need to get strong. I had a gold medal in anthropology, but I couldn't do anything, right? Except the work that I had been brought up doing in my family's business. And so then I was basically 10 years into all of the travels to India and back, 10 years, just about going on 10 years working for my family's business. And that's when I was diagnosed with a lymphoma. That's when I found a great big tumor in my clavicle. And I actually made my last trip to India when I was really sick and I had this bulge in my neck. I was in total denial. Completely in denial. I was very frightened of doctors at the time. I didn't go for any tests. I was trying everything alternative. I had gobbled up lots of crazy medicine from somebody in a hovel in India. It was all the wrong things. I was doing all the wrong things like crazy, and then so I was in my very last trip there. And I came down with a flu, like, because I was so sick, my body was desperately trying to detox. So I didn't actually spend a whole lot of time with the guru or with anybody. I was literally like, just messed up in my own room. And the one thing I do remember about that is running into my friend Jen, who at the time I knew as Nirja. That was her Indian name. I also had an Indian name. You might hear it on my first recording of music, which is a picture of me with the this is just all flashing before my eyes right now. The picture on the front of my album Vijaya Living Knowledge is with the guru's hand on my head, which was such a blessing to receive this touch on my head. And like, thank God he only touched me on my head. Oh my God. And so then where was I? need to take notes while I talk here. And so there I'm there. It's my last trip. And I see Nirja, the Jen who wrote this book. And she always had beautiful hair. All the women there had long hair, and it was just, they were all, very feminine. They were instructed to be feminine. They were instructed to cover their whole body, not their face, but they were instructed to be very modest. I remember showing up my first trip, and I had a dress on that was a little bit shorter. People could see my knees, and they came running after me. Oh, no, no, no. Don't you dress like that, you temptress. You're going to be, that's telling a man that they could just rape you anywhere, anytime. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is really like, moral high ground over here. I learned how to dress and how to look like more or less like a boy in that scene. But anyway, my friend Jen, she had a beautiful head of, my memory is curls. But this trip, when I saw her hair had been, like she had cut it all off. It was really short and short like a boy. So I didn't think too much of it. She had always been rather distant, rather private. We pursued her because she has the voice of an absolute angel, like incredible voice. I probably have recordings of hers. Maybe I'll share in the House of Free Will just so you can hear her voice. It really was sublime. And so we pursued her to sing with her. And my other friend from Winnipeg here pursued her to make a recording of her songs. They're all the mantras, they're all the guru's mantras, they're all the guru's songs and everything like that. So I know she can't relate to it. I don't know if I barely can anymore either. And so here she was with this chopped hair and not looking her beautiful girly self anymore. I didn't know anything about it. Nobody sang to me anything about it. I was also very compromised at the time, having got this knock 'em down flu that I felt nearly killed me, actually. And so that was my last trip. Then I went home from that trip and recovered enough to get home, and I was better. I thought, oh, I just had a cold. I just had a flu. And I was ignoring this great big tumor in my neck, not ignoring it, knowing it was there, but like hoping against hope, praying against prayer that I could just gobble up some natural health medicine and have it go away. And that's when the end started, and I finally got convinced to go to a surgeon to have a biopsy. I thought it was literally the results were going to be, oh, Beth, you're a hypochondriac, go back to work, because I didn't love my work anymore. I didn't love that environment. I felt like it was making me ill. I was not doing well. I was stressed out. It was all intense. Anyway, I've told that story a lot. I wrote that story in my book, so I won't belabor it. And yet the timing was super interesting, because as I go down, this is when everybody, or not everybody, but a few people start to chirp about their experiences with the guru. And the first people to come forward were children. They weren't any more children. They had been there. Their first, their childhood was spent there. And as they were growing, say, Nirja, she could have been 20, 22 or so, but she had been there since she was 16, which is still pretty much a child. And then others younger than her. She was the eldest of the young group of kids that were the children of parents who had renounced their life and come to the guru, which we didn't use that language, but it's exactly what it was. And so there she was. She had hacked her hair. And so I went home. I got that diagnosis. And then we started to get the news of these stories and these accounts that came forward saying that this guy Sham is a sexual abuser and a pedophile, and that some of the people he was sexually abusing were children. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's fascinating, and I'm out. Right? For me, I want to congratulate myself that I'm so great, because the moment I heard sexual abuse and pedophilia, I'm the fuck out of there. I probably shouldn't say that word too much more. I don't know if that's a buzzword on the censorship side of things, but it was just a clear choice for me. It's like, that's wrong. I'm not part of that. And I needed to, I was in the throes of being very sick, and I'm going into chemotherapy, trying to avoid chemotherapy at the same time, and all of this stuff going on. So it was just a no-brainer to cut bait and get on with my mission. And that was basically how it was left, more or less, until very recent. Jen did write a book earlier on, but it was, I think, only 10 people read it. It definitely wasn't for the public. It was just for some of the friends that she trusted. There was, by the time like Jen was back in Canada, she managed to escape the cult. And it was not easy, because say, as soon as you go against the guru, you become not just his enemy, you become everybody's enemy, right? That would have given her, roughly 1,000 enemies worldwide, including where she lived there in the home. And so it wasn't until she learned, because abusers almost always are isolated. They don't know, or not abusers, the abused are almost always isolated. It's part of how the whole thing works. So she thought she was the only one that was being nightly raped in a violent way. She thought she was the only one. How could it have not occurred to her that this was wrong is a function of human consciousness. I have zero judgment, but this is how it works. When you are asleep and something like that is happening to you, and I mean asleep in your consciousness, and you can't tell that it's wrong, this is a Not a good sign. And it wasn't until Jen found out about one of the younger women who was, as it turned out, on the same schedule of the rapes, that she woke up and she knew it was wrong for the other girl. She knew that, but she didn't know until then that it was wrong for her. So as all of that started to flood in for her, and she came to and she realized she was in danger and she needed to get out, then that's when she there's a scene she writes about in the book where she took out a pair of scissors and she just started to hack her hair off. As you know, this is a common thing when people usually they almost always, or not always, often do something to their hair. I kind of felt like cutting my hair off at reading all of this stuff, that, you know, like, it's just needing to be done with the past is something, I don't know, it's hair related. I don't know. Toxicity grows out the hair. That's a different topic altogether. But so that's when I saw her. That was the beginning of the end for everybody. She had only revealed to a few people. It wasn't the younger woman. Her name was Sean. She couldn't hold her tongue. She ended up leaving, going back. She told everybody she could tell. She was desperate for someone to know. They had been sworn to secrecy, of course, right? Perpetrators, that's how they work. They need you to be secret. They need you to hold your tongue. They need you to be isolated. I have been in situations like that where I was sworn to secrecy. This is a flag. This is one of the cautionary tales here, that if people have been or find themselves now in any situation where somebody depends on your secrecy, go tell somebody, jump up and down, sing it from a mountain, or not sing it, but like scream it from a mountain, tell somebody. The moment you're held to secrecy, you know something wrong is happening. Even if you can't at that time discriminate what the wrong part is, or you have all kinds of reasons to justify why you should do that. I know what this is like. I've been in that situation. It's horrendous. It's an injury upon an injury. And the isolation, an injury upon an injury upon an injury. It goes on and on. And so then once Sean was speaking out, Jen got braver, and they were all now getting contacted by the devotees who are lost and confused. They're hearing the news. It landed on the front page of the leisure section of the Globe and Mail in Canada. That is, or was, a very big newspaper. I don't know where it's at right now. There's a very widely seen page, the front page of that section. And this guru actually landed on his picture, and the story about some of the abuses landed in print. There had been a kind of spy journalist that had visited Kulu, and this was what he took away. He exposed it in that way. So it had become public. Many people were trying to contact the victims they were lost. They were confused. They were torn. They were torn between the beloved guru and their humanity. And she gives accounts of these conversations, how she would say what happened to her, just matter of factly. I was raped every single night. I was sworn to secrecy. I was ostracized. I was terrorized in the middle of the night, like pounding and banging on the door and demanding to be let in the middle of the night out of deep sleeps, and just like total, honestly, trauma-based mind control going on there. And so she would have to answer these questions, and then people like wouldn't accept it. Oh no, well, that couldn't have happened. They would just outright deny. No, that couldn't have happened. She must be lying. Oh, they're drug addicts. Oh, they're not stable. Oh, they're not spiritual. they lost their chance for enlightenment, and so they're not credible anymore. They left the guru, so we shouldn't, but they're still asking her for some reason. There were some that had the appropriate response. What is the appropriate response? Oh my fucking God is the appropriate response, right? I'm sorry you went through that. What can I do to help? That would be the appropriate response. But now Jen gives a statistic that is, according to my other friend, kind of questionable. She said only 1% of the people had the appropriate response to the abuse. And my memory was like it was a sort of half and half thing. And that's more like my friend's memory. But I don't know. I only have my seat. I wasn't really like deep into it. I don't have a bazillion friends. I only have a couple of contacts still there. Not there, but from that world. And but according to her perception, that's how many people did not accept the truth, did not accept the reality of what was going on. Because why? Cognitive dissonance. We're familiar with that in this so-called truth world. And when that pain is so great, like what would you have to admit if you realize that your guru, the guy that you follow and you listen to and you obey and you ask permission to come and go, what if you found out that he was a violent perpetrator and probably also there's a murder in the mix? When someone came and he tried to rape them and they flipped out, they freaked out, they went running, and she washed up dead on the river the next day. So nobody knows exactly, or at the hands of who, or the henchmen or whatever, but that was all. Then they were all sworn to secrecy. Don't tell anybody, don't tell anybody. To this day, that person's family doesn't know how they died. Right? They just shushed them off to New Delhi and put the body on a plane. It's that dark. And so then, the fact that people went into denial and could shun the victims, this is frighteningly normal. So that's right. The nervous system that's not strong enough to face the truth, to face reality, to face the pain, to face the fact that you made a mistake in choosing this guru, right? Like that was an error. And you can spiritualize it all you want. Oh, it was meant to be that I picked that final course and I met the guy here and then I went to India and that was, it's all meant to be, all these divine breadcrumbs. Maybe you could say, I could say, but they can't say. I could say, okay, yeah, maybe I was setting myself up to be able to heal deeply from betrayals, from liars, from all of that kind of stuff that comes. Maybe I did set myself up to do that. I'm not against thinking like that. But if the perpetrator uses that knowledge, quote unquote, or that slogan, it was meant to be, to justify the bad behavior, the horrendous behavior, then this is really messed up. If you decide as the victim that it was meant to be and you're using it for self-empowerment and for taking responsibility, because that's what every victim is going to be called to do sooner or later, you don't get out of that, then that's totally different. And so, yeah. Hey, Mitchell, they're bad. I'll just say chemtrails are bad. That's kind of off topic there. Sunset Lights 100. Nice to see you. 7:30 a.m. in New Zealand. Good morning. Thank you. She says, great insights. Hello, Jillian. Nice to see you. Just joined. Looking forward to catching up. You're on double speed. Good on you. And memory is stored in the hair. At least as, that's why they take tests for toxicity by the hair that's growing out of the scalp. You don't cut this hair to test your recent toxicity. You cut this hair, as we all know, for those that get the hair tests. And so it's certainly a toxic release of some kind. And then the secrecy promise, never keep it. Amen to that. Hold that in mind. And then so yeah, the whole thing really got shrouded in that secrecy for many years. And then last week, my one local contact here, sort of call him a buddy, sort of have some unfinished business there too. He passed this book on to me, and I don't know if it was intended for me, but I guess he figured that I should read it. And I dove in right away, and for 2 days, I went into a shock. I know I'm emphasizing this, but I literally had a snow brain. Have you ever had that happen where, you're in an accident, you get severely injured, you are, your life falls apart, something, and you go into shock. It is a mechanism of self-protection. It's not a decision. It's not like the thing, oh, I'm just going to go into denial, whatever. Do people really decide that or not? I don't know either. Not consciously, they won't, or they could, maybe not. And so it blew me. I honestly, I couldn't turn away from the book. It was all I did. Just reading atrocity after atrocity after atrocity, and could it get any worse? And it got worse. And if you think the insults can't be more greatly insulted, they are. And the one of the biggest crimes of all is when you combine sexual abuse with spiritual abuse. And this was one thing. I'm just going to make a note about death in general. Was a topic that was completely off the table, which was fascinating, because the mantra, and you're going to hear it if you go and listen to my past recordings, you're going to hear me singing this exact mantra that translated from the Sanskrit into "I am immortal, I am blissful." And it sounds good enough. It might even sound fantastic to the love and light crowd, like, oh yes, I'm immortal, I'm blissful, I'm God, I'm everywhere, I'm everything, I'm consciousness, I'm bliss, I'm. This is you're meant to repeat the mantra. That's what mantras are for. You say it over and over and over, and you sing it again and again and again. And it's a kind of form of brainwashing. I, come 2020, I think, was when I stopped really singing mantra. I'll sing it as a song, but not any practice of mantra, because by that point, I'd seen what did that do to that community, right? It numbed their brains. They couldn't see, they couldn't feel. Feeling was not good. And this was fascinating, because one of my takes on the whole thing was, this was my perception that everything in that world was like low class from here down. Everything here, the body, the heart, sensations, feelings, vulnerability, life and death, programming, emotions, right? It was just from here up was all they wanted to talk about, right? If it wasn't the crown chakra or the Vishuddha chakra, then it wasn't on the table for discussion. If you talked about death, you were shunned. And people who were there, that like were living there, and someone would die. Say Jen's father passed away, and she had two brothers there in the cult, and the mother, I think, as well. And they were grieving. They were mourning the loss of their father and husband, who was not a good person either. But, and then they were shunned. The whole community pushed them aside, and they would make fun of them and they would mock them. Because why? They hadn't learned anything. They hadn't learned I'm immortal. They hadn't learned everybody's immortal. And so what are you weeping and crying about death about? The Bhagavad Gita says exactly that. Do not weep and cry. Do not grieve the dying. You are immortal. And, so these things are always a certain kind of half truth, or a certain kind of, there's something, because the essence of who we are is that. It's true. Now, are most people living from their essence? No. That's not the truth. Can the essence die? Yes, it can be. It can be killed. It can be that this is our thread connection to the divine. And but it doesn't take away our humanity. It doesn't take away the fact that loss is loss. That when death happens, please act accordingly, right? Let it come into you. At least have compassion for others that are struggling and suffering. It's one of the biggest rites of passage if you get through it. And there's no guarantee that, some people will use a large loss in their life to heal, but the equal number of people are going to use it or not use it too, but they're going to become bitter and lost and more deeply unconscious because of it. It's a tender time for crying out loud. And that was not acceptable. And then coming back to combining the sexual abuse with this kind of spiritual abuse, this double whammy is exactly the makings of trauma-based mind control. This is why all of the, satanic rituals all have sex magic going on in them. That's part of the recipe, the formula of it. When you combine up great pleasure and great pain, and you marry those two elements in the psyche where they shouldn't be married, there should be a discrimination, right? Pain and injury, that's its own thing. This is not coupled with pleasure. The crime of that is beyond, because then you've created a split in the psyche. And most of those people went on, if they left the cult, mostly never married, didn't have children. The only pregnancy that the author Jen had was from the guru, and she was forced to get an abortion. That was her whole life. That in itself is tragic. People encouraged not to have families, not to bring the next generation into the world. Why? Because that would take attention away from the mission of this guru. And so we talked about secrecy, the cost of the silence. Now this is me narrating the story from my side, and I could be completely off base, but the author was diagnosed with what's called Huntington's disease, and I didn't even look it up. It's considered to be a genetic disease, but some of you in this world might already know that disease is not like that. And there's, so she was they're under the spell of that normal medical kind of world. When she got the diagnosis, she started to get sick as soon as she got the diagnosis. She wasn't sick before, at least that's I shouldn't put words in her mouth. I don't know, but you can see this whole belief in that thing, and it's not, it's a terrible disease, and people die terribly, and that's not going to end well, that disease. But in fact, that's exactly what inspired her to write the book now, is because she doesn't expect her life to be very long, and knew that this stuff had to come out of her. This story had to be told before her death. But what the point I'm trying to make is that secrecy and silence and holding on to those things has a cost in the body. Some people have said things like the body doesn't lie. Is that Gabor Mate or whomever said that? And people have said it in different ways. And what I realized, how I like to frame it, is that your body is a kind of court system. And say people that have conflicts and disagreements, if you don't deal with your brother personally, then it could end up in court. They're going to take you to court. You're going to need to take them to court. So if you can, where at all possible, manage your affairs in the private, then this is a big advantage, because once you're in the court system, you don't know what's going to happen. You're not nearly as in control as you could be in a private interaction. All kinds of other forces come into play once you're at court. And to me, this is the perfect metaphor for when you let your body be the judge. That once I had a stage 4 lymphoma, it was telling me, Beth, something's wrong. You're not in the right place. You're out of alignment. You're not in the right world. You're not doing the right work. You're not adhering to the right values. Now, thank God, in a way, that business saved me from spending my whole life at India, because I, wasn't ready to just move out of Canada. Now I'm rethinking literally everything. But the cost of silence is enormous. It doesn't go away. It doesn't have an expiry date. The internal injuries need your attention. You can't heal them unconsciously. They don't heal by accident. They don't heal over time. They will express once they're in your body. Then you went to court, and things are much less predictable and controllable at that point. So, and there's always somebody to talk to. If you can't talk to everybody and you don't want to go public and you don't want to pull everybody into it, because everybody's story has more than one character. And that's what kept Jen in secrecy for so long, is that it was going to affect like about 1,000 people. And she couldn't live with that fallout. But instead, she got sick. So this is a lot of conjecture. I am projecting that on her, but honestly, to me, that is a big part of it. I wanted to talk about gaslighting as well. Gaslighting is a form of lying, very insidious and hideous form of lying. And it's where something happened and the perpetrator says, oh no, that didn't happen. I didn't say that. I didn't do that. Oh no, that never happened. You were not in your right mind. It wasn't like that. Oh, everybody knows it wasn't like that, right? Has that ever happened to you? Where you have a very distinct account and memory and experience, and then someone, oh no, that didn't happen. I didn't say that. No, that didn't happen. And this is a very big violence. This is, I'll call this affectionately a mind fuck. It turns you inside out. Every decent person is going to doubt themselves. Every decent person will do that. They will question themselves. They will go, oh, maybe it wasn't like I thought it was. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm like, and then you'll second guess and you're like, is it me? And you want it to be you. You want it to be you being wrong, not them being wrong. You want it to be you being wrong because that's less dangerous than having a perpetrator in your midst. And I've dealt with people like this around the gaslighting thing. And this is like, just another level of psychic violence. I'm emphasizing this point because there can be cases where, say, the physical, rape wasn't there, the violence wasn't there, the beatings weren't there. But the gaslighting is a psychic violence, not to be underestimated. And that was very much part of this. It was part of another experience that I also had that was not entirely unrelated. And so, yeah, people give up their power, they give up their authority, they give up their senses, that they don't think for themselves anymore. They need somebody to tell them who to think. I remember when 2020 hit, and we went desperately searching for who could help us. Who's the expert? Who's going to lead us out of Egypt? And in the process, fell, temporarily, luckily, to the workings of these. They don't call themselves gurus or teachers in the law world or in the truth and freedom movement, but it's the same thing, right? Looking for are you my guru? Are you going to save me? Are you my Jesus? Are you my this and that? Even won't talk about what they've done to Jesus around that. And so that's, the desire to give your power away is stronger than the desire to have power by far. In a world where we've been enslaved, the you actually develop, out of self-protection, you develop a desire to be controlled. You develop that desire to not be free. You desire others to have more authority over you than you are going to exercise yourself. And that's why, the truth movement is not that different from the normal world. It's just another version of it. It's like another character on the stage show. And so yeah, it's and the flip side that people mistakenly get into is the I'm God complex. I'm sovereign. I'm the authority. I'm the king. I'm the leader of everything. I'm in control of everything. Just say no, like this. And this is a bunch of BS. Absolutely a bunch of BS. At the level of reality of what we're dealing with, right? Like, just don't pay your taxes for 10 years and watch yourself go to jail. You're not going to get out of it. I mean, you might be able to disappear or something, but you won't have a normal life by any means. And at the cosmic level, this is according to Gurdjieff and everybody that he got that from, then, we are not the top of the food chain. We're part of a food chain, but we got eaters and we're eaters. But we got eaters. Oh my God, we got eaters. Talk to Joel Schaefer about the eaters. He doesn't call them that. He has another name for them. And we're not this fantasy of being the king of the universe. It's just like, even they would tell us, even gods and goddesses want to be humans because only humans have the potential for enlightenment and all this bull crap. So yeah, that authority is a really good subject to spend a lot of time being honest with yourself about, and where are the lies, where are the beliefs. I've done a lot of shows here talking about how belief systems really are a major handicap, and they should all be stones turned over and look underneath them and see what that actually is. One of the biggest crimes there also is the inherent need for people to belong. It is part of our nature. It is part of the way that human groups and societies live together. We don't live separate. We live, that's more natural way is to be together, not isolated little satellites. And like, our culture is much more people all over, not a lot of human contact as much anymore. God bless you if you're living on a commune. That's say an ultimate goal for me, to live with a bunch of people, but could they even do it? And yet the hunger to belong and to be part of a tribe is very powerful. That's how cult perpetuated, because they needed to belong to something, and that cult gave them a sense of belonging, gave me a sense of belonging, but only to a point, because I had to live most of my life here. And so that the threat of not belonging is the threat of not surviving. And I always say there was a point where human beings couldn't have survived on their own. You can't just get your own Wi-Fi and get your own apartment and get your own vehicle and get your own groceries and all of that normal stuff that people do these days. You actually had to rely on others. You had to be interdependent, because otherwise you just can't function. You won't survive. And so it really, there's two programs. One is the want for oneness. Interesting. Of course, that's, that oneness was a very big buzzword in the cult. And then the other program that tells you to want for survival. Well, these two pair up. You want oneness because you want to survive. Therefore, you better do whatever that programming tells you in order to be one with your cult and your cult members, and belong to something so you can be safe. This is my beef about parenting, how I would watch my sister, who I love and adore, by the way. I, really love. She's the one sister, one person in my entire family that's still loving with me. And we saw each other and it's so nice. She's just like me in some ways, and she's totally different than me in other ways. But it was like, it's been amazing to connect with her. And then she would always put her kids in the corner. They would have to go off. There was always a penalty and a timer. And the punishment was always separation. You go be away. And I'm sure that's how we were raised. I must have blocked a lot of that from my childhood memory. And the pain of that child is not to be underestimated. They don't know. They don't have a discrimination to know that they're not going to die in that corner, or that the 1 minute timer, even for a toddler, is not an infinity. They don't know. So what do? They program themselves. They go into desperate measures, and they layer up the levels of wanting to belong and wanting to be one and wanting to survive. And they become obedient in the process out of fear of not surviving it. And then they have psychoses. They have, they are not, maybe not psychoses, but they end up with problems. They end up with a nervous system that's not regulated. They feel like they're not going to live through it, right? Parents who threaten to abandon children because they're not walking fast enough, or they're not agreeing to leave when you want to leave. You don't know the damage that does to a young psyche. It's very big. And it's left a whole population of people that are messed up, not from that only, but it's part of it. And so the cult takes massive advantage of this inner wound. This, you could call it the original wound of separation from the divine, from our own mother, from our own mind, heart, and body in the dissociative process that pain brings on when it's too great for a child to cope with. So, yeah, that's the worst crimes are to children, and to this day, the fallout, the real lived experiment that began for them. I don't even know a start date. What was my friend saying yesterday? I don't know. I didn't get there until about 88, 89. That's when I entered, and then it was already maybe 30 years into it. I don't know. I'm not good at math even. But anyway, the fallout for all of the young people that had been there, because guess what? When the news came out about the abuse, all of the young people just got it. Oh, that's the truth. They didn't go into denial. They didn't go into justification. They didn't go into contortions, mental contortions, to try to justify their own presence there or what they had let happen. Or, many of them ended up practically a pimp, delivering the children to the guru, or forcing the children to come to the guru, right? They literally pimped those little kids out. And now to this day, the fallout of this, they have turned into drug addicts. They weren't that before. There is a suicide. There is a drug overdose. So two of them have died. Maybe my friend Jen is going to be the third that ultimately succumbs to all of that, though she had major awakenings and major healings. I haven't finished the book. I'm hoping it turns out pretty good. It's looking better. There's a lot more hope, and I'm going to leave you guys with that. So this is why I'm on a soapbox about reality. Not saying that I have access to it and you don't, or I have some greater access to it. But what I do have is a desire for it. I consider that to be the same as freedom. Like, freedom to me is not some blissful state like we started the chat about. It's not a state of mind, right? There's a lot of different states of mind, states of heart and mind, which are often the mix of the heart and the mind, which shouldn't even be mixed. That's a mistake that creates all kinds of distortions on reality. But I want reality. And maybe this is because I have been lied to. I've been betrayed. I've been gaslit. It made me hungry I just want to know the truth so I can make decisions based on that. Simple enough, right? And then so this is a desire to know what's real, to feel inside myself the reality of the feelings. Now, that doesn't mean that the feelings are always true about what's out there. There can be, in fact, no connection whatsoever. I notice myself, I'm not going to talk about it, but I notice myself immensely triggered about something that happened 25 years ago. All of a sudden, I thought it was behind me. I thought I was completely healed from that. Just a little catch, a little thing. And there it is. And there I am in a state. And I'm, that's a state. And when I get to the other side of it, I might speak about it, and it's not, I don't mean to create mystique around it, but the inner world makes something out of, suddenly I'm having a problem about something that's way past. And so I'm going to work through that, and I'm going to see where I land in reality. And anyway, I don't mean to be cryptic. But the dark is dark, and that's here's another part of the cautionary tale, is that if your spiritual life is all about love and light and bliss and perfection and seeing the best in everybody, and like I have a dear friend in mind, another one who I do love and adore her, but that's been the spiritual path, and the negative doesn't get into her consciousness. There was a time last summer, whatever, something I said, and I had a conscience about it. And I went, why did I say that? And why did I try to make her feel bad? And I was trying to be included, and she wouldn't include me. And then I got kind of snarky about it. And I said one thing. Well, she didn't notice because, in a way it's a little bit of an advantage, but she didn't notice. Why? Because she's got the filters going in terms of not being able to register that I was being snarky with her. She just couldn't see it. And that's what that kind of spirituality does. I'm not saying that she should have been, injured by me or pissed off by me. These are little things, teeny little things, but I had a conscience nonetheless. A conscience is a very big part of it. It's your conscience that's going to tell you something is wrong. Something is not not right, that it's an actual injury. And so for people that practice spirituality, that's all about the positive and the beautiful and the divine and the I'm God because we're all God, and God said be still, and I'm God, and all this kind of stuff. It's just a pile of crap. It is. You're literally putting light on top. You're just covering it up like a blanket, pretending like a little kid. Sorry to be so harsh, but you're pretending that darkness is not there. This is not a favor. It's not a favor to you. It's not a favor to your health. Like, God bless you. I hope that goes well. I hope that you can go to the end of your days. If that's your wish, to stay in denial, then I hope it works for you. But this is, to me, not the real purpose of doing any kind of inner work or self-study. To me, this is about being strong, right? We just signed up for Joel Schaefer's workshop coming up in August, and there might be a few love and light people there. And part of me is going like, good, they're going to come to some real if they do. Because Joel is not the love and light guy, if you haven't noticed. He's very loving. He's kind. He's a very kind person, and I sense he's a very good person, but he's not promoting the just light sham that it really truly is. So I'm missing all the comments here. I'm going to be off my soapbox in just a minute or so. Let's see if there's any other points I just wanted to make. This was something interesting. So in my lifetime, I had noticed a pattern in myself of going like the moth to the flame, going to the guru. And I'm going to come back to all the comments, by the way, you guys. And I remember having a best friend. She's like my all-time best friend, we went through like some amazing things together. I loved her. We were kind of married. It was a little bit, like nothing weird going on, but it was more like a marriage than just a friendship. And then we had a band together, and we lived in the same house, and we did a lot of things. We did everything together, and we took major risks together. We put ourselves on crazy stages together and did trips, and then all of a sudden she announces to me that she's moving away. And it was like, oh, I felt completely gutted. I felt abandoned. I felt left. And it was like I was losing my husband or my wife or something like that. And it was the start of me seeing like, is this really healthy? And there was, at the time, I dealt to the extent that I was able with my own poor me, but I also started to see something about them. Like, what is that about people that are like the flame, that they wave the flame, and they're willing to be in that role with the moths that are attracted and want to be with them. And I haven't completely 100% figured it out, but the guru had this, that the moths would come around, and even if they died going into the flames, that they would just keep coming. And this other guy, that he had that too. Everybody wanted to be around him. Everybody was clamoring for him, and they would put up with some BS and some gaslighting, and they would put up with things because they were addicted to this energy that they felt on the other person. And so some of those experiences in my life made me realize that I was not going to be that person. To whatever extent I'm in control of that, I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to be the flame to the moths. And I need to congratulate myself, because of all of my trainings, I've never sat down and counted how many people have been through my courses or my trainings. And I mean, I think there's hundreds at this point. There's been a lot of people have come through my work over the course of 15 and 20 years. And do I have an entourage around me? Look around. Nobody. Right? Zero. Do people chase after me? Nope, they don't. Do my own students and current clients clamor at me and beg me for, please, could I be with you? Please, could I sit close to you? Can I buy you something? Can I, I have been sent very beautiful gifts at times. God bless you. I have loved them. People sent me mermaids for a little while and stuff like that. But what I noticed is that when people graduate from my course or trainings or something like that, they get on with their life. They take the information and they run with it. The coaches, they go off and they coach. And even the best claim to fame ever, that I have nothing to do with, practically anything, maybe nothing, is that they go into community with each other, right? I have a group from 2022. They, to my knowledge, are still meeting every single week, studying the Journey Code training material together. They don't invite me. They don't ask me, Beth, are you free? Could you come for this? I actually had a some time where I was like, oh, they don't invite me. I don't belong. I'm not included in my own club and stuff like that. And it's like, but then I woke up and like, shake it off, Beth, go and see, this is the best outcome possible, because I'm not creating dependencies, not creating people who need to worship me, who need to be around me. Right? I teach them skills, and then they go and they use them and they do whatever with them. Sometimes people do come back after time, because why? They want to go deeper. And I'm still doing this, and I'm a broken record, and I keep doing it year after year after year. And I'm still here. So I'm still a resource for those that want to come back. There are a few people who've stayed with it and who are growing with it and have seen through some iterations, and that's beautiful and that's amazing, and I welcome that, but I don't need that. And this is to me, very different result. And that's why, the difference between a cult and a learning place is that where if you feel like you need that and you couldn't live without it, right? No, I don't want to say this in a weird way, but if I disappeared, everybody would be fine, right? Nobody would be left devastated. Maybe they would miss me. Would you guys miss me? This is my own childhood talking here. Do I exist? Is there anybody out there? Still getting past that to some degree. So anyway, I'm going to go back to the comments now because I always love seeing what you guys have to say. And Jillian said, thanks for sharing this. It's so important. These things get brought to the light and visibility. Exactly. Yeah. So the dark, that's the first step of making the dark light is shining light on it, right? It's sort of a cliche, but when you shine the dark on light, it ain't dark anymore. And Anne said, you will share, you feel like there's a strong pattern with people in positions of power over their victims. Yeah, exactly. And it takes two, right? You can't have the perpetrator in positions of power without the victims who want to follow them. It doesn't work. They'd just be all by themselves. So what is that dynamic between them? That's never to blame the victim. It's what is the responsibility of the victim, and how do we play to that, right? There's no such thing as a narcissist without the empath or the codependent. They come as a pair. So there's a dynamic, and that's the thing that we can figure out inside ourselves. Elisa sent some love. Very nice. Thank you. Yeah, the split in the psyche when the trauma's so bad. You wrote a poem titled exactly that. Very accurate. Yeah. And then the parts don't talk to each other anymore, and they can't collaborate, and they don't know what's going on one to the next. There's too much pain. You got to put it off in a pocket for a day when you're strong enough to be able to handle it. And this is a fancy question, Mr. Meal. Have you discovered what it is about your personality that makes you susceptible to cults? Thanks for that. Jillian said there are advantages to being hyper independent. You recognize it's a trauma pattern. Don't trust anyone. Exactly. It's a kind of pendulum swing that it goes from, hyper dependent to hyper independent, and hyper dependent and hyper independent. And then the magic word trust, which is one of the trust is a shadow of the child. There is one place for trust, and it ain't you or the people around you. And so that's exactly the the programming around trust actually keeps you in that place relative to a perpetrator. Now, whether that's being attracted to the perpetrator or having an aversion to the perpetrator, it's the same. Believe it or not, it's the same. I was trying to explain to this guy that he's like, oh, you like the US? I don't like Trump, like this. And I'm like, you have no idea. Trump's got you. He doesn't care if you love him or hate him. He's got you. He's got your attention. If you hate somebody, they've got your attention. That's a lot of strong energy, right? That's the love hate I teach about this program. It's a love hate, two sides of the same coin. So then they get you caught in this, I don't know who to trust. I'm like, the perpetrator's over there, and I'm just, and then they flail through life looking for the thing to trust, and miss the real deal. You never put your kids on a timeout. Good for you. And I'm not shaming anybody that did that. We all made the mistakes. I harmed my child in ways I didn't know 100%. And you witnessed your grandson being disciplined this way, and you cry inside. Yeah. And how do you say it? I couldn't say it to my sister, right? I don't know. How do you say that without creating? That's the problem, right? To be able to stop doing something, you have to have a moment of like, oh wow, that was wrong, and that's been wrong, and maybe it's been wrong for a long time, and there has been harm that came of it, and you'd have to feel the pain of having caused something, and nobody wants to do that, but that really is actually the path to go on. Still reeling from Emil's question. Oh my God. And not saying that hyper independence is actually a good thing, but don't tend to follow very readily. All right. Yeah, I think I got the first comment. And stories so reminiscent of the stories of so-called John of God in Brazil. Yeah, but I see the same patterns. Like they are the patterns, and that's why with the so-called leaders, exactly, they are patterns. They're recognizable patterns, and that's one really good thing about the book is that Jen went out of her way to show you this is what a cult is like. Here are the signs. Here are, it's different from a group. Groups can function. Groups can be healthy. But, the signs of the cult are also unmistakable, and they're highly patterned. They're archetypal, literally. They're reliable even. And you're hearing me, good for you. Thank you. And I'm a bit too real to have a blind following. Yeah, that's the hope. There ain't no, I have had people in my world that they come in and they love bomb me, and I'm the best thing since sliced bread, and they're always telling me how great I am, and every message I get is full of loves and hearts and emojis, and and please keep sending them. So I also do a lot of loves and hearts, but when you're being love bombed, it's different. That's a different thing. There's something, and at first I liked it. Oh, somebody's loving me. That's amazing. I had a childhood where I felt like nobody loved me. And so then so then that's where a lot of loveless people are vulnerable to this when you're being love bombed. And I can say, because I've got some years of experience now, that every single love bomber turned in to a hater. Every single one of them. Right. And now if you come along and you love bomb me and I'm just the best thing, and you just keep saying I'm the best, appreciation is different, Jillian. Appreciation, I love that. To me, that's honest appreciation is amazing. People sometimes don't know how to do that either. That's a very beautiful thing, to just appreciate. Why couldn't we do that for each other? But that's love bombing is different. You're up on a pedestal, and they're at some point they're gonna knock you as far as they can off that pedestal. So that is another pendulum, right? That's swinging back and forth between those positions that are actually the same. So Diane, I won't take this love bombing when you say I'm a gift that keeps on giving, whether you're there or not. Well, thank you. That actually gives me kind of good feeling, and great clarification of a power dynamic, relationship, and roles. Yeah, that's why anybody in a position of any kind of power has a lot of responsibility, like a huge responsibility. You can't take it lightly when people, even you guys, but just showing up to listen to this talk and be in a conversation with me, or to take my courses or train with me and all that kind of thing, I take it very seriously. And it's the reason that I can, because there's a selfish reason for doing that, is that I get to grow much more beyond what I would do if I was just, if this was just like my side thing. But this is my whole life. And so if I, do or say something that's out of integrity, even a little bit, then I have this enormous pain, right? And there have been times, I pulled a guru kind of thing in a course. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I think the year before. And it was sort of a guru style of kind of things, where somebody was in one of my trainings was having a problem. They were having an issue, and I didn't want to like confront them or call them out. And yet the issue needed to be spoken about for the benefit of them and everyone. So I spoke about it anonymously. I didn't use any names at all. So nobody except that person knew who I was talking about. This is a kind of guru style. It's been demonstrated to me. And, I've used it at times. Now, this time when I did it, the backlash from the person who knew it was them was enormous, and they flipped out. and they freaked out, and they sent me a big long message about being very injured by that. And the first thing that, if I'm really honest with you, the first thing that I wanted to do was justify it. That's how it rolls. Like, oh, I wasn't wrong. I was trying to help everybody. I was trying to teach everybody that this was a necessary thing to look at. I don't even remember what the thing was anymore, of course. And but instead of justifying it, instead of shooting back a message at her and going like, oh, trying to maybe spiritualize it or something, I don't know, or justify my behavior, explain myself, all that, I just left it, and I went, and I basically laid there and did my own inner work until I got to the core of it. And when I got to the core of my own mistaken motivation, the only thing that I did was apologize to her. I'm sorry. An end of story. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. How can I help you? I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do to make up for it? And so that miraculously allowed us to keep working together and to keep going, and that they stayed on the track and still could get the benefit, right? Because I could have put an end to what benefit she could get at that point by just being the high and mighty, justified, right person in the interaction. And so I think that's pretty cleansed out of me. I'm still not the person who's going to ignore when things are going on in my groups, and they always do. It's just, it's inevitable. It's part of, I always call it the workshop under the workshop. It's starting to happen with Joel's thing now that we signed up and some friends, and there's a little, like, we're already entering into the work. Who, I don't know who knows that, but I'm starting to see it. I know the patterns of that. And what was my point? I can't remember. I'm glad I stayed mostly lucid for you guys. Not that shocky anymore, a little bit. And Jillian said, push something or someone away, still energizing it. Exactly. You got it. Yeah, you're putting energy. That's it. It's energizing. And appreciation and care are very different from obsession. Yeah, you could say this is the lover archetype that goes from that, like the lover obviously highly values love experiences. And that's not just romance by any stretch of the imagination. They highly value love experiences. And it's part of our fabric. You could say it is more who we are than anything. But when it turns to obsession, this is the unconscious version. That's not love at all. It's fake love. It's pseudo love. That's not the real love. But obsession, you'll have the belief that it's for love. If anyone's ever been pursued by someone for love, you know how bad that feels, right? It's not flattering. It's not like you think you're so special or anything. It's like, oh my God, that it's an attack. It's a kind of compromise that they're doing. So yeah. I agree. Hello, Audrey. Great to have you here. Nice to see you too. And that's highlighted something, the way that someone tries to put us on a pedestal. You always thought you dodged that one, but then they try to knock you down anyway. And then, yeah, exactly. Even when you don't receive the love bombing, then they just try to take you down. So it's two sides of the same coin that can happen. So I think that's pretty much all that I wanted to share about today. I felt really strongly like I wanted to just say this, and my first instinct was to get Jen on an interview, but realizing that she's compromised, I sincerely doubt she would ever agree to it. I did message her and I never heard back, and so hey, Mr. Paul, nice to have you here, Mr. Voice of Reason. It's a good theme for today. And yeah, it'll be all there for you pretty soon. I'll be finishing this. Glad to have you here. Coming up Monday, I'm going to be speaking with Banjo Glass. I still don't know his real name. Maybe he won't tell me his real name. He's a glass blower. He's an artist in the field of functional glass. This might be a PG for anybody out there that has kids and you don't want to talk about what functional glass actually means. What is the name of Jen's book? It is is so dumb, you guys. Becoming a rainbow hummingbird. And I think there's a subtitle to it as well. I'm going to search that title and see if it comes up anything. I somehow doubt it's when people say they're going to publish in 5 minutes, that can mean a year or more, because publishing is a pain in the butt. But this book, it seems pretty ready. I can't fault the author. It's, it's not the best written book, but it's not bad. It's quite beautiful in some ways. And but you can tell it's written by someone who's still dealing with trauma for sure. And he is an amazing glass artist, Jenny. You know him? That's so fun. Yeah, he has quite a following actually. And I was shocked. So he's so humble. He comes and he comments on my post that has barely 1 like on Instagram. I can't get any following on Instagram at my band there. I don't know. Are you guys on Instagram? You want to come over there? And then so he says, "Oh, I can't wait to hear the interview with Roy Wooten. I'm so excited. I'm so stoked." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, one person I'm going to follow. I'm going to go and look and see who they are." And it's Banjo Glass. And I start looking at all his art and his 155,000 followers. Big accounts almost never are going to comment on some little buddies. And his work is extraordinary. There was a time where we'll probably talk about this on the interview, where it was recommended that he go into the fine art world, because it's not just the functional glass, the PG, if you guys know what that means. It's not a secret. It's not even illegal. And he tried to get into the fine art world a little bit, and it's a cult. I think it's a kind of cult, that fine art world. And it's very much engineered in Canada through government, through funding, through the elite, that they control art, and they'll come along and say some piece of garbage is art and they all ooh and ah. But Banjo Glass is making the real deal art. So you can go to Instagram and find his channel there and have a look at some really amazing pieces. And like I said at the beginning of the interview, if you didn't hear, what inspired me to have him on first was that he says his kids call him a king hero. So we're going to find out why his kids call him a king hero. And I thought that was so fun, because he's using this phrase that came to me in the middle of the night when I had an awakening from having been a raging feminist, and I wanted to mend my ways. So good, Jenny G. I'm so glad that you know him. That's awesome. People didn't really know Roy Wooten. Did you guys ever get into that? It's like, he's incredible too, right? Really amazing. Although not awake, he thinks the government should run music, and nope, they already do, and they don't. They do it very badly. To be kind. Glass blowing is not illegal. It's that if you look up functional glass, it's basically about smoking pot and weed, and it's like bongs. And so, sorry to be cryptic around that. I don't think any of those are problems to speak about on the internet, and it's legal here and everything like that. So yeah, it's for the Grateful Dead communities that want this functional glass. They want it to work. It's not just art. It works for that purpose. So. For some people, that's, oh, don't worry. Yeah, no worries. Gardeners, Jenny says. Yeah, for some people, that's PG. For other people, it's a big fat nothing. So, but so we'll talk about that. And my, again, main interest is on the evolution of culture, which is still high on my list of subjects to study. And Quietly Content Bear said, I get the sense that the majority of fine art is just money laundering, right? There's that. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, a way to control people. If you get to belong, then you're going to be a living, an artist who makes a living. And if you don't get to belong, you're going to be a starving artist. So what are you going to do? You're going to pander to that. You're going to, suck up to the right people. You're going to bring them presents. You're going to make them think that they're like blow smoke up their butt. Excuse the very timely pun there. And so it's a big club. I realized early on as a musician, I wasn't in it. They didn't want me. That club didn't want me. I'm so lucky with this cult. Yes, I was in it, but I was not in it. I was not in it to the degree that I wanted to be in it. And this was the thing. I did a video about this in the House of Free Will in the private, that the day after, like holding my head in gratitude that my desires were not fulfilled to be close to that maniac. So like craziness. And yep. What are you going to do, you guys? Art school was the most brainwashing programming you ever experienced. See, there you go. ACAD. I'm not familiar. Is that in the that would be in Canada? I think so. Alberta College of Arts and something like that. Arts and Dance. Did I get that? Something close like that. And yeah, only 11 likes. Jackie said so. Jackie's the likes patrol, and she's very good at asking you guys to like this video. Could you please? By the way, I'm not streaming to Facebook anymore. It's over. Facebook and I are breaking up on the streaming thing. They are technically too annoying. There's always some problem with them. They delete my videos after 30 days anyway, so they don't even stay up and go down in my history. And so they don't get to have my live streams anymore. So we're on Rumble, we're on YouTube. And then after these things are live, they get uploaded to all of the podcast channels like iTunes, Spotify, where I'm going to play a song for you guys from. And so you can always catch these as the recording. And if you wanted to be in touch with me, you can visit my website, bethmartins.com. That's a ticker at the bottom. The best way to connect these days, if we're not yet connected, is to go and if you're interested in your own archetypes, this is not a cult. This is not an archetype cult. These can be discovered inside yourself. It will be between you and you, unless you want to share anything about it with me or anyone, which I never mind. The beauty of the archetypes is that it's not a secret. We are all these. And so this is the best way to connect with me. You'll get notifications about my live streams, about my courses, about the trainings coming up. And the most recent thing is that Micah Ellers and I are creating a video series. We are talking about our favorite subject, self-remembering. The series starts with his private story. Now, he's been through some stuff. He couldn't say all this stuff because he doesn't want to necessarily traumatize people with all of that, but he said a lot, and he showed how he came to be doing what he's doing right now in guiding people to let go of false personalities, which is essentially the same as deprogramming. That's why him and I are teaming up with two bodies of work that are very complementary in a beautiful way. And so if you sign up for my archetype quiz, or just go to my website and say, hey, Beth, I would like to receive those videos. You got to be in my world to get them. I don't have a landing page. I don't really feel like making a landing page because these actually are private videos, and don't share them around on social media or anything. Like if you have a friend that you feel like has to see it, that's fine. We'll never know about that. But please don't post it around. This is not what we're doing with these. The idea is to be more candid, to share more, and to be of service for people who actually want to remember their true self, their authentic self. They like reality. This is about reality, and it's the harder path, by far the harder path, much more difficult path, and also the much more rewarding path. So do put your hand up to that. I'm actually sending an email in some detail about it tomorrow. So if you get on my list by today, then you will be in line for that. And it won't be too late. If you're hearing this later, you can just send me a note from my website, or email me, beth@bethmartins.com, or send smoke signals to my Telegram groups, which are the King Heroes Journey channel and the King Hero chat. And if you look in the notes below, there is an application to the House of Free Will, where I do a private podcast every single week, every single Monday. We have private meetings where we talk. These people have become my best friends. I love and adore many here today in the chat. And we're not a big group, and we're not a cult. And there's, it's not one of those come and sit around the fire of Beth. It's not like that at all. Not like here where it's the Beth of fresh air. I was really hoping, I think I said that before. I was hoping I wouldn't bring you guys down, that this is a cautionary tale. Just trying to see is this really Beth of fresh air, or is this Beth of shock and awe? But speaking of shock and awe, we had tornadoes in Winnipeg. We've had them in Manitoba. That's not new. But we had tornadoes in the city 2 days ago. Like, holy crap, never in my entire lifetime. I didn't look it up historically. Who knows how they would lie to us about the history of weather now anyway. But literally never has there been a tornado. I was messaging with one person. They received 74 emergency alerts on their phone, which was really weird. Mine kept going off, and it's a screamer. Like, it doesn't matter what your volume is, it's screaming at high decibel, although you can just turn the ringer off. Luckily, I could silence it. And I thought it was kind of a hoax, actually, because it got all these emergency alerts. And yes, it's very intense rain. And yes, it was intense hail. And yes, the wind was throwing sheets of water at my windows. They literally washed the windows. So it is unlike rain. It almost never does that. And then it started to abate. And I was seeing posts from someone that's like 6 blocks from me, and they're going, "Oh my God, the storm is worse than ever." And I'm like, wow, we're not in the same place 6 blocks away. So these, they're often directed when they're weaponized. And so, yeah, like craziness. The energy has been weird. The last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is we're in a weird time. I've been seeing this because I'm a coach, because I'm around a lot of people. I can see everybody's going through some kind of weirdness. People have been unable to understand a simple text. There's been total misunderstandings around like who's talking when it says your name right in there and stuff like that. And, people were starting to argue about the Mandela effect. I put an end to it. I'm not going there. We're not going to do that in the House of Free Will. That's, to me, I'm sorry, but an absolute waste of self-remembering time that could be used to remember self, not to try to get mind fucked by the CIA. I'm sorry. Like, I just blurted that out. Just could be wrong, but we're just not doing that in my world. I'm seeing all kinds of very weird stuff right now. So if you're feeling like that, if you're feeling weird, if you're not perfect, that's great. Like, keep going, still do your inner work. But if you're noticing that kind of stuff, turn inward first before doing anything out there. That's to me the best policy, so you can get to a greater version of reality rather than just, express something and then have to go into regret about it, because it really wasn't the whole picture. It was a picture painted by programming to one degree or another. You can guarantee that everybody is in that place. I'm absolutely no exception. And this, to me, is the only work to be done. And that's what I'm here for. So once again, you can, if you want to stay, Alberta College of Art and Design. I was so close, not dance. I was very close. And Jackie, I made her laugh. And this is the link to the archetype quiz, which you can also find below. You can find an application to the House of Free Will if you'd like to be in there. One thing for the Love Your Liver people in the community, that if you are part of Garrett's Love Your Liver program, then I'm offering it's currently free. I don't know if it's always going to be like this, or if I'm always going to be doing it, or whatever. But for this time right now, I am offering weekly deprogramming your health sessions, because of what we talked about earlier, that whatever's going on in the heart, the mind, the emotions, the programs are going to show up in the body sooner or later, and they don't have to. And there's a lot of different ways to approach your health from a deprogramming perspective. I'm not saying don't, change your diet and look into everything and learn everything. Do that. Absolutely do that. You can't spiritualize toxicity away. You can still do miracles. I managed to work a miracle at a time. Could I do it again? I don't know. I can't like, miracle worker on myself. No, it's not necessarily that. But so you can join this for free if you are one of Garrett's members. And I do highly recommend it. It's a really incredible education. It's the best education I've ever learned. It's the most progress I've ever made with my health. And yeah, it's beautiful. There's great people over there. They have more self-responsibility than I've found in any other place. It's not a cult. People don't clamor. I love Garrett. People love Garrett, but I mean, anyway, that it's, to my knowledge, it's not a cult. And so you can, as a bonus, you can get these free weekly sessions to work on your health with me. Like I said, I don't know how long I'm going to be doing that. Maybe to September, maybe not that long. I'm not sure. I'm creating recordings. And if you are a House of Free Will member, you can get access to those recordings inside the House of Free Will in our private Telegram group. So I'm sorry, it's a little bit contorted how to get those, but that's where it is. I have people that have messaged that this work is the bomb, that it's brand new to them, and yet they're able to do it and take it on. Some other people, it's been harder for them to grok it, and they don't get it, and that's okay. It is not everybody's prepared to go and explore their inner world and find reality and find the darkness and have a conscience and understand your hidden motives that even you don't see, that causes us to lie to ourselves and to lie to everybody. So if, the real actual truth is your jam, you might find some really great resources around there. And you've been seeing what I'm talking about today in other settings. Yeah. So once you see the patterns in one place, you will start to see them all over the place. That's the beauty of pattern recognition. It's a great teaching. So you don't have to necessarily stay hyper focused, right? I could, if I was a different live streamer, I would talk about this for 6 months. But I've said my piece now. I've said what I came to say. I will talk to anybody about it. So it's not a subject off the table, but I don't need to hammer on it every day. There's something weird about that too. Yeah, so that you could see the pattern in other places and potentially not have to get into that cult situation or to get yourself out before it's too late for your soul to survive it. Jenny said, I had a Canadian femme visiting in Springfield. They got a taste of tornado sirens here while there was tornadoes back home. Got it. Wow. Yeah, we don't have the sirens. We don't have sirens. Why? We don't have sirens? Because we don't have tornadoes. That's why we don't have sirens. Otherwise, we would, right? And it's been great to have you here. Thank you for saying all this. She says, I have been feeling it's super strange as of late too. Yeah, that's another reason that it's good to stay in contact with your loved ones. And so you can see through their eyes what they're going through. So, and in I go, she says. There you go. You're a rock star. And Jillian, you are too. Needed to hear. I need a head too. Just kidding. Just making fun of the typo. Typos are a fun part of the internet. And so I am going to play you out this song. It's called Secrecy. It's from my album called Where There Is Beauty. Where There's Beauty. Nobody ever got that title right. Where There's Beauty. THERE''S. Where There's Beauty. Not Where's the Beauty. I've created titles people couldn't work with. The King Hero's Journey podcast. Nobody can say that. Almost nobody gets that right. They go King's Hero Journey or something like it gets mangled. My parents had a business. Nobody could say that name. It was called Words North, and they said all kinds of words that weren't that. And thank you very much, Elisa. I'm looking forward to sharing this with you. I think it's going to work. It's right here. And so it's not a beautiful screen. Maybe I'll do that, and I'll just mute myself while it plays. And I think that's all. So love you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day. This is going to work. Bear with me. And once it's playing, could you please let me know if you can hear the sound?
No reflection, no distance, no social control. No one knows what they're seeing. To politicians, physicians, preachers and goddesses, we give our power away. If it's only okay in secrecy, then how I just couldn't be when it's ever so discreet. Your secret safe with me. Rich men, rich women, betrothed to their fortune, silence the price that they pay. We honor contracts on our own freedom. We give our power away. And if it's only okay in secrecy, then how I just couldn't be. It's ever so discreet. Real secret safety dream. Them drawn to them, we want their attention. We're hungry and they'll have their way. And if they knew what you knew, what you do behind doors might not be easy anymore. And that's why we hide from ourselves and everybody else, when it's ever so discreet. Your secret with me. It's a good time. Sadness is in your mind. The hook is a good time. Sadness is in your mind.